The gentle rustle of lavender fabric fluttered softly in the breeze as wheels whispered their rhythmic melody along Riverdale's quiet streets. Beside the little girl in the wheelchair, a German shepherd moved gracefully, eyes vigilant, devoted, and protective. Neither of them knew their lives would soon change forever. As you listen, I'd love to hear where you are right now, so leave a comment below with your city. Let's continue their story. Sunlight gently spilled over the rooftops of Riverdale, casting a warm, golden hue across Main Street, and the air was filled with the sweet fragrance of freshly baked bread from Miller's Bakery. Amid the soft morning bustle, Emily Carter emerged around the corner in her wheelchair, her small hands skillfully guiding the wheels along the familiar route. 8 years old, Emily had sparkling hazel eyes framed by delicate freckles, her golden brown hair cascading softly down her shoulders. As always, she wore her favorite lavender dress, its delicate fabric gently fluttering in the light breeze. Her expression was bright, masking any lingering sorrow from the car accident that had left her paralyzed 2 years earlier. Walking attentively by Emily's side was Shadow, a magnificent 3-year-old German shepherd, whose sleek black and tan fur glistened in the morning sun. Shadow was calm and attentive, his deep amber eyes quietly scanning the street, ready to shield Emily from any harm. To Emily, Shadow wasn't just her protector, he was her best friend, confidant, and companion, who understood her heart better than anyone else. As they moved along their daily path, familiar faces began to greet them warmly. Mrs. Anderson, the elderly florist with silver curls and a gentle smile, waved cheerfully while arranging her flower displays. "Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Shadow," she called. Emily waved back, her eyes glowing with happiness. Across the street, Mr. Hayes, a retired school teacher wearing his usual tweed jacket, lifted his coffee cup in salute, his voice full of warmth. "Looking lovely today, Miss Emily." Emily felt the embrace of the town's affection, a comforting reassurance she cherished. Yet, she knew their love wasn't just out of sympathy. It was respect and admiration for the quiet strength she exhibited each day. Riverdale had watched her grow from the spirited child who once danced along these same streets to the brave young girl who now navigated them gracefully, showing everyone how to live courageously despite life's hardships. Shadow moved steadily beside Emily, his powerful paws patting gently on the pavement. He never rushed her, instinctively matching his pace to hers, his ears twitching slightly at each sound, vigilant yet serene. Occasionally, Emily would gently touch his fur, drawing strength and reassurance from his steady presence. "You're my hero, Shadow," she whispered, her voice carrying softly through the crisp morning air. Arriving at their usual resting spot beneath the sprawling branches of an old oak tree in the town square, Emily paused. Here, she liked to close her eyes for a moment, breathing in the scent of blooming lilacs, the scent her mother once loved. Shadow instinctively lay down beside her wheelchair, resting his head upon his paws but never fully relaxing, always quietly alert. The morning flowed by gently, people strolling leisurely along the sidewalks, pausing to exchange pleasantries, laughter floating lightly through the air. Everything seemed perfectly tranquil, untouched by shadow or sorrow. Emily smiled, content and grateful for mornings like this, unaware of the sudden storm gathering in the near distance, ready to test the strength of their bond. Emily opened her eyes slowly, savoring the peaceful moment. Her hand found Shadow's fur again, gently scratching behind his ear. "It's a beautiful day, isn't it, boy?" Shadow raised his head, giving her a loving, quiet gaze in return. A gaze promising he would always be there, ready to shield her from anything the world might throw their way. Together they sat, blissfully unaware that this morning's peace would soon be shattered, changing their lives in ways neither could foresee. The peaceful silence of Riverdale's morning was suddenly broken by a distant rumbling sound, rapidly growing louder, filling the air with tension. Shadow lifted his head sharply, his ears erect and alert, his amber eyes narrowing cautiously. Emily felt the vibration beneath her fingertips, her heart quickening as she turned to see the source. A group of bikers raced down Main Street, their motorcycles roaring aggressively, their laughter echoing harshly against the gentle morning calm. Leading them was Tyler Brennan, a 20-year-old known for his reckless defiance, wearing a black leather jacket decorated with silver spikes and torn jeans that spoke of rebellion. His dark eyes were restless, his rugged face marked by a hardness that hid deeper wounds of anger and resentment. Behind his apparent toughness lay years of emotional turmoil, unseen by those around him. The bikers circled the town square, engine noises reverberating loudly, scattering the townspeople who stepped back nervously, casting wary glances. Tyler spotted Emily and Shadow from afar, his gaze lingering strangely, the briefest flash of vulnerability crossing his features before quickly replaced by his usual hardened expression. Shadow stood protectively in front of Emily's wheelchair, his muscles taut and ready, his protective instincts taking control as he sensed danger approaching. Emily's heart pounded rapidly, fear creeping into her throat, tightening painfully. "Easy, Shadow," she whispered softly, attempting to soothe both her dog and herself, though her voice trembled slightly. Tyler slowed down deliberately, guiding his bike closer to Emily and Shadow, a challenging smirk on his lips. His companions cheered loudly, egging him on, their voices harsh and unkind. As Tyler neared, he stared directly at Emily, but instead of kindness or compassion, his eyes flashed with bitterness, reflecting his hidden pain as anger. "Leave us alone," Emily said bravely, lifting her small chin with courage. Shadow growled softly, his voice a low warning rumble, signaling his unwavering loyalty and courage. Tyler hesitated for just a moment, an internal battle raging within, before a surge of defiance pushed him forward. In an abrupt, impulsive movement, Tyler swung his leg outward, the heavy boot striking Shadow fiercely. The unexpected force sent Shadow crashing onto his side, a painful yelp piercing the air, leaving a haunting silence afterward. Emily's heart broke at the sound, tears instantly flooding her eyes as she watched Shadow struggle weakly to stand, his injured leg trembling, a heartbreaking whine escaping his throat. "Shadow!" Emily cried desperately, her voice echoing in despair, helplessness tightening its grip around her chest. The townspeople, who had watched frozen in shock, quickly rushed forward, anger and disbelief on their faces. Tyler seemed momentarily stunned by his own violence, the harshness melting briefly into confusion, his dark eyes wide with regretful disbelief. Without another word, he revved his engine roughly and sped away, leaving behind a cloud of exhaust and shame. Emily reached her hand toward Shadow, her fingers trembling uncontrollably, tears streaming silently down her face. "It's okay, Shadow. Please get up," she whispered brokenly. Shadow attempted to stand, only to collapse again, his eyes filled with confusion and pain, yet still fixed lovingly upon Emily, silently begging forgiveness for his inability to protect her fully. Mrs. Anderson, the florist, hurriedly knelt by Shadow, gently assessing his injuries, murmuring calming words, her voice filled with maternal concern. Mr. Hayes, the retired schoolteacher, placed a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder, offering silent reassurance as tears blurred her vision. She clung desperately to the familiar voice of her beloved companion, softly comforting him through her tears. "I'm here, Shadow. I won't leave you," she promised tenderly. The serene morning had been violently shattered, leaving Emily grappling with a new layer of heartache, Shadow wounded and vulnerable, and Tyler riding away with a burden heavier than before. The town stood in quiet, solemn unity, their compassion merging into a protective embrace around Emily and Shadow, as Riverdale faced a painful reality that would challenge their hearts and minds in ways none could yet foresee. Shadow lay quietly on the sterile examination table in Dr. Catherine Bennett's veterinary clinic, his powerful frame now vulnerable and still. Dr. Bennett, a compassionate woman in her mid-40s with short chestnut hair and gentle brown eyes, carefully ran her hands along Shadow's hind leg. Her expression was thoughtful yet somber, clearly worried about what her fingers revealed beneath Shadow's soft, trembling fur. Emily sat nearby, her small hands clenched anxiously in her lap, her eyes swollen from silent tears. Her lavender dress was now crumpled, bearing the marks of her heartbreak. Beside her stood her Aunt Rachel, a woman in her early 30s with long dark hair pulled into a neat ponytail. A calm presence Emily had come to depend on deeply since losing her parents in the accident 2 years ago. Dr. Bennett sighed softly, her voice gentle but cautious as she spoke. Emily, Shadow has suffered serious trauma to his hind leg. There's significant swelling and nerve damage. We'll need to run more tests, but I have to be honest, his recovery will be complicated, and it might be difficult for him to regain full mobility. Emily's heart dropped at those words, her chest tightening painfully. Shadow had been her strength through all the loneliness, her guardian when the world seemed too big and too frightening. Now he lay injured, helpless, and the thought of losing him filled her with overwhelming dread. "Can't we help him, please, Dr. Bennett?" she pleaded, her voice trembling with fear. "Doctor." Bennett placed a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder, her gaze filled with empathy. "We'll do everything possible, sweetheart. Shadow is strong, and he clearly wants to fight for you." Outside in the waiting room, townspeople had begun to gather, murmuring worriedly, their faces reflecting genuine concern. Mr. Hayes stood near the window, adjusting his glasses nervously, while Mrs. Anderson held a small bouquet of flowers tightly, her eyes moist with worry. Others quietly voiced their support, discussing ways to help Emily and Shadow through the uncertain times ahead. Aunt Rachel knelt down beside Emily, her voice soft and reassuring. "Emily, everyone is here for you. Riverdale loves you both deeply. We'll face this together." Emily nodded quietly, though inside she felt frightened and alone. Shadow had been her constant companion since the accident, a comforting presence during the long, quiet nights and challenging days. The thought of facing the world without him was unbearable, threatening to shatter the fragile courage she'd carefully built. Dr. Bennett gently wrapped Shadow's leg in a supportive bandage, carefully avoiding putting unnecessary pressure on the injury. Shadow whimpered softly, the sound cutting through Emily's heart, her tears flowing freely once more. Leaning forward, Emily tenderly stroked Shadow's head, whispering softly into his ear, "You're going to be okay, boy. I promise I'll never leave you." As the news spread through Riverdale, neighbors quickly rallied together, their shared affection for Emily and Shadow motivating swift and heartfelt action. Maggie Thompson, the cheerful owner of the local diner, organized a small community fundraiser, her usually bright expression subdued but resolute. Jack Mason, a quiet mechanic known for his generosity, pledged a significant amount toward Shadow's medical costs, his gruff exterior hiding a gentle heart that ached for Emily's pain. Word soon reached the Brennan household on the outskirts of town, where Tyler sat alone on his porch steps, quietly brooding over the incident. His rebellious attitude was now overshadowed by the heavy burden of regret. He had never meant for things to escalate, never intended to cause such deep pain to someone who had already endured so much. Yet, his impulsive actions now haunted him, amplifying his internal struggle with shame and self-loathing. Back at the clinic, Emily remained steadfastly beside Shadow's side, holding his paw gently in her small hand, her whispered words of comfort, a soothing balm to them both. The evening sun began to set slowly, painting the room in soft golden hues, a gentle reminder of the warmth and support encircling them. In that quiet moment, Emily felt a subtle shift deep within her heart, sensing the collective strength and love of Riverdale, wrapping warmly around them both, offering comfort and courage to face whatever lay ahead. Shadow opened his eyes slowly, meeting Emily's gaze with unwavering trust, silently promising her that, injured or not, he would always fight for her, just as she had always fought for him. Tyler stood at a distance near the edge of the veterinary clinic's parking lot, hidden partially behind the thick trunk of an old maple tree, watching Emily through the softly illuminated clinic window. His heart tightened painfully as he saw her delicate face, pale and weary from worry, gently comforting Shadow. Tyler had never seen such tenderness and devotion. It awakened something deep and fragile within him, an ache he had long suppressed. The gentle flickering of the clinic lights illuminated his troubled face, casting shadows that mirrored his inner turmoil. Tyler was only 20, yet years of emotional wounds had etched harsh lines around his eyes, making him appear older than he was. Under his defiant exterior lay a young man with dark brown hair, disheveled from restless nights, and deep blue eyes haunted by memories he had desperately tried to bury. As he watched Emily softly stroking Shadow's fur, an unexpected wave of remorse washed over him, overwhelming him completely. The sight brought forth memories Tyler had long pushed into the deepest recesses of his mind, memories he hoped to forget but could never truly escape. Images flashed vividly before him, sharp and clear, pulling him back into his painful past. Tyler saw himself as a small boy, just 6 years old, cowering alone in the corner of a shabby living room, clutching a threadbare teddy bear tightly against his chest. His mother, Carolyn, with tangled blonde hair and eyes dulled by years of addiction, shouted angrily at his father, Michael, whose towering figure loomed threateningly. The air was thick with tension and fear, a home devoid of warmth and comfort, where love was overshadowed by anger and neglect. As the shouting grew louder, young Tyler squeezed his eyes shut, desperate to escape into his imagination, praying silently for someone to protect him from the chaos. He remembered the loneliness, the helplessness, and how these feelings had slowly hardened into anger over the years, building up walls around him to guard against further hurt. Now, watching Emily show such unconditional love toward Shadow, Tyler felt a profound emptiness inside, recognizing something he'd always longed for yet never experienced: genuine care, unwavering compassion. Emily and Shadow's bond stood in stark contrast to his own fragmented childhood, bringing him face to face with the truth that he had perpetuated the same hurt onto others. A cold breeze stirred the leaves above him, rustling softly, pulling Tyler out of his haunting memories. He drew a shaky breath, his mind reeling. "What have I done?" he whispered, his voice barely audible, filled with anguish and regret. Suddenly, the clinic's front door opened, and Aunt Rachel stepped out into the evening air. Her eyes immediately caught sight of Tyler standing awkwardly beneath the maple tree, frozen in a posture of shame. Rachel, known for her calm presence and perceptiveness, studied Tyler thoughtfully for a moment, sensing his inner conflict. Slowly, she approached him, her voice gentle yet firm. "Tyler, isn't it?" Rachel asked carefully, her dark eyes filled with a quiet understanding. "Why are you here?" Tyler lowered his gaze, his throat tightening, making it difficult to form words. I wanted to see if the dog, Shadow, was okay," he managed finally, his voice breaking slightly. "I didn't mean to hurt him, or the little girl." Rachel's expression softened at his sincere distress. She knew enough about life to recognize genuine regret when she saw it. "Tyler," she began softly, stepping closer. "We can't change our past, but we can decide what we do next. Emily and Shadow, they've already suffered greatly, just like you." Tyler raised his eyes slowly, meeting Rachel's gaze with vulnerability rarely shown. He nodded silently, struggling to control the storm of emotions that surged within him. "I don't know how to fix this," he admitted, his voice trembling, stripped of its usual bravado. Rachel placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, surprising Tyler with the warmth and compassion of her gesture. "You start by forgiving yourself, Tyler, and then you try to help make things right, one step at a time," she said gently, before turning slowly back towards the clinic. Tyler remained standing beneath the tree, his thoughts racing with unfamiliar possibilities, his heart yearning for redemption. Watching Aunt Rachel return to Emily and Shadow's side, he felt the faintest glimmer of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, it wasn't too late for him to change, to rewrite a story filled with pain into something meaningful, something good. As he walked away from the clinic, Tyler resolved silently to himself that he would not run from the shadows of his past any longer. For the first time, he felt a sense of purpose, inspired by a girl in lavender and a loyal dog who had shown him what true courage and love looked like, even in the face of unimaginable pain. In the soft glow of twilight, Emily sat quietly on her porch, watching Shadow sleep peacefully on the warm wooden floor beside her wheelchair. She gently ran her fingers through his thick black and tan fur, taking comfort in his rhythmic breathing. Shadow was still fragile, his injured leg wrapped protectively, yet he slept soundly, soothed by Emily's presence. For Emily, Shadow's steady heartbeat beneath her fingertips was her anchor, reminding her that despite life's trials, they were together, unbroken. A gentle rustling sound caught Emily's attention, and she turned her head cautiously. Her heart quickened when she saw Tyler Brennan slowly approaching, his face uncertain, hands held up slightly to show he meant no harm. He stopped a few feet away, his voice barely above a whisper. "Emily, please don't be afraid," he began hesitantly, his blue eyes filled with remorse, pleading silently for her understanding. Emily instinctively tensed, her small body rigid with anxiety, her pulse racing. Tyler noticed her fear and lowered his gaze, ashamed and deeply troubled by the pain he saw reflected in her eyes. He took a shaky breath, his voice trembling with sincerity. "I didn't come to upset you, I came to apologize," Tyler said gently. "I never meant to hurt Shadow or you. What I did was terrible, and you have every right to hate me." Emily studied Tyler carefully, noticing for the first time the vulnerability hidden behind his tough exterior. His disheveled dark hair fell across eyes heavy with sleepless nights, his posture slumped, as if carrying the weight of his past actions. Emily remained silent for a moment, her cautious gaze softening slightly at his genuine display of remorse. "Why did you do it?" she asked softly, her voice quiet but firm, searching his eyes for answers. Tyler hesitated, his expression a painful mixture of shame and sadness. "I've always been angry, Emily," he admitted quietly. "Growing up, my parents, they weren't kind to me. I guess I became angry at the whole world because of it. But that's no excuse. I can't change what happened, but I promise you, I'm truly sorry." Emily's heart ached for the sincerity she heard in Tyler's voice, the deep pain evident in every word he spoke. She glanced down at Shadow, whose soft breathing was steady and comforting, and she considered carefully before replying. "Shadow taught me that everyone deserves a chance. Maybe you deserve one too." Tyler's shoulders relaxed slightly at Emily's unexpected compassion, a flicker of gratitude shining in his eyes. "I want to help you," he said earnestly, stepping forward slowly. "I want to make things right. Please let me." Over the following days, Tyler kept his word, visiting regularly, always respectful and gentle in his approach. At first, Shadow regarded Tyler cautiously, his amber eyes watchful and wary, but gradually, he began to accept Tyler's quiet presence. Tyler worked tirelessly, carefully assisting Emily with Shadow's rehabilitation exercises that Dr. Bennett had recommended. Each day, Tyler's patience and tenderness became increasingly apparent, earning Emily's trust little by little. Riverdale's residents soon noticed Tyler's sincere efforts. Maggie Thompson from the diner smiled approvingly when she saw Tyler carefully helping Emily lift Shadow into her car after a clinic visit. "Mr." Hayes paused one morning, silently nodding his approval, as he watched Tyler carefully wrap Shadow's leg bandages, his strong hands gentle and precise. Slowly, the townspeople began acknowledging Tyler's genuine transformation, allowing him a cautious but hopeful chance at redemption. One quiet afternoon, Aunt Rachel approached Tyler as he finished adjusting Shadow's therapeutic harness. She smiled warmly, her voice gentle but sincere. "You've truly proven yourself, Tyler. Everyone sees the man you're becoming. I'm proud of you." Tyler's eyes grew moist at her words, emotion briefly overwhelming him. He had longed his entire life to hear someone express genuine pride in him, and the warmth Rachel showed him now helped mend his fractured heart. He turned to Emily, who had watched their exchange quietly, offering her a heartfelt smile. "Thank you," Tyler said softly, meaningfully, "for believing in second chances." Emily returned his smile gently, her eyes filled with quiet strength. "Everyone deserves someone who believes in them," she replied softly. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm, golden glow over the porch, Shadow lifted his head slightly, nudging Tyler's hand with quiet acceptance. Tyler knelt beside the loyal dog, gently stroking his fur, a silent bond forming between them, rooted in forgiveness and redemption. In that gentle moment, Tyler realized that although he could never erase his past, he could choose a different path forward, guided by compassion and courage, inspired by a little girl in lavender and her faithful companion, who had taught him the true meaning of healing and love. Weeks passed gently in Riverdale, each day marked by small yet significant victories. Under Tyler's patient care and Emily's devoted encouragement, Shadow began to regain his strength, his injured legs slowly healing. One crisp autumn morning, in a field near Emily's home, Shadow took his first cautious steps without assistance. Emily gasped softly in astonishment and joy, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude as she watched her faithful friend carefully place one paw after another on the soft, dew-covered grass. Tyler stood beside Emily, his expression bright with relief and quiet happiness. He watched Shadow closely, ready to support him, but Shadow's movements were steady, growing stronger with each gentle stride. Emily reached out instinctively, finding Tyler's hand beside her. Without hesitation, he gently squeezed hers, their connection a silent acknowledgement of how far they'd come together. News of Shadow's recovery quickly spread throughout Riverdale, becoming a cherished symbol of resilience, forgiveness, and healing among the townspeople. Maggie Thompson proudly displayed photos of Shadow's first independent walk at her diner, customers pausing to admire and share stories of the dog that had touched their hearts. Mr. Hayes proudly recounted Shadow's recovery to his neighbors, his eyes misty with emotion as he emphasized the power of compassion and second chances. One evening, Riverdale held a special gathering at the town square to celebrate Shadow's remarkable recovery. Lanterns softly illuminated the park, casting a warm golden glow across the gathered faces. Emily wore her favorite lavender dress, her expression radiant with quiet confidence. Shadow sat proudly by her wheelchair, his fur shining and eyes bright, fully restored as the protector and companion who had never wavered in his loyalty. As Emily addressed the gathering, her soft voice carried clearly through the attentive crowd. "Shadow taught me something important," she began gently. "He taught me that even when life feels broken, love can put the pieces back together. Love showed us all that forgiveness is stronger than hurt, stronger than fear." Her words resonated deeply, filling the hearts of everyone present. Aunt Rachel stood quietly at Emily's side, her face glowing with pride. Tyler, who had once been an outsider and source of fear, now stood close by, accepted warmly into the heart of the community. His once rebellious demeanor had softened into genuine humility and gratitude, his eyes filled with quiet determination to continue earning their trust. When it was Tyler's turn to speak, he stepped forward, his voice steady yet emotional. "I came to Riverdale angry and lost, thinking no one would ever accept me. Shadow and Emily showed me how wrong I was. They showed me the meaning of kindness and what it truly means to belong somewhere. I'll forever be grateful." As applause gently filled the cool evening air, Shadow tilted his head toward Tyler, acknowledging the sincerity of his words with quiet approval. The German Shepherd's amber eyes were serene, mirroring the peace now settled deeply within Tyler's heart. Riverdale's people saw clearly in this moment the transformative power of compassion and the extraordinary impact one animal had upon their lives. In the weeks and months that followed, Emily and Tyler continued their walks through town, Shadow confidently striding between them, healed and whole. Their friendship deepened naturally, built upon trust, understanding, and mutual respect, quietly reinforcing the truth that second chances were always possible. One cool afternoon, sitting together under the familiar maple tree near the veterinary clinic, Emily looked warmly at Tyler, her voice soft and sincere. "Thank you for believing in Shadow, and for showing me that people can change," she whispered gently. Tyler smiled, his blue eyes warm and genuine. "Thank you for giving me a reason to," he replied softly. Shadow lay contentedly at their feet, his presence a living testament to the journey they had all undertaken together. Riverdale, once marked by fear and uncertainty, had now become a place defined by resilience and forgiveness, all thanks to the bond between a brave girl, her loyal dog, and a young man who had learned to embrace the courage to change. And as the sun slowly dipped behind the hills, bathing Riverdale in its final, gentle glow, the three friends sat quietly, hearts intertwined, forever changed by a journey that had taught them the true meaning of healing from the inside out. In the quiet moments of life, we're gently reminded that love, loyalty, and forgiveness hold the power to heal even the deepest wounds. Emily, Shadow, and Tyler showed us that second chances aren't simply given, they're grown from compassion and courage. If their story touched your heart, please consider subscribing, because together we can share more stories that inspire kindness and hope in each of us.